Every business class you have ever taken teaches a simple law: to grow, to expand, and to dominate. We are taught to look at a drop in revenue as an unmitigated failure. But what happens when growth is exactly what is killing you? Imagine a battlefield where Nike dominates with billions in marketing and R&D, while Lululemon owns the premium wellness space. And caught in between is Under Armour, who is outspent, losing margins, and facing a net loss. Competing on volume has become an existential trap. So instead of expanding, Under Armour is doing the unthinkable: to intentionally shrink. Today, we explore the bold product cut designed not to weaken the brand, but to save it. This is a tactical retreat to weaponize raw technical fabric IP, dodge wholesale retail bullies, and stealthily absorb the enterprise B2B contracts that our biggest rivals left behind in the dark. Let's look at the battlefield. Let's start with macro forces. Under PESTLE, we see a profound cultural shift. 64% of global consumers are actively adopting multifunctional apparel that seamlessly transitions from athletic to hybrid professional environments, which is the workleisure boom. Simultaneously, the industry faces severe regulatory pressures such as the California SB 707 textile recycling laws and stringent UFLPA customs audits require total supply chain transparency. When we view this landscape through Porter's 5 forces, we see where the true leverage lies. The bargaining power of buyers is historically medium. Yes, retail shoppers face zero switching costs and high price transparency, and wholesale distributors wield immense floor space leverage. However, this power is structurally weakened by proprietary fabric IP. When a brand owns patented, differentiated material innovations, buyers cannot easily find a functional alternative. The rest of the forces paint a clear picture. Supply power is medium due to rising specialized material costs. The threat of new entrants is low due to high technical fabric R&D barriers, and substitutes sit at a medium. The real killer here is competitive rivalry, which is dangerously high due to market oversaturation, inventory gluts, and a devastating wholesale price war. And Under Armour's fabric IP is their only shield. The wholesale price war is the threat that they must escape. The rival analysis highlights the trap that UA has been caught in. Nike dominates the global mass market sneaker culture, and Lululemon owns the premium wellness and work leisure space with an integrated DTC ecosystem. And Under Armour is historically performance-focused, but lack the lifestyle crossover or the multi-billion-dollar marketing budgets of its peers. And because of this, the future key success factors for this industry have shifted. Winning no longer means shipping the most volume, but rather, it requires vertical integration and DTC maturity to bypass third-party discount spirals. It also requires product versatility to maximize the consumer's wallet share. It also demands supply chain agility and aggressive SKU rationalization to keep inventory lean and full-priced. And running UA's capabilities through the VRIO framework reveals its truest weapon. Under Armour's massive footwear expansions are a structural failure, plummeting 11% year over year. Footwear is not yet a core competency, and a true VRIO asset is its expertise in performance fabric technology. The R&D teams who built Heat Gear, Cold Gear, and ISO Chill have commercialized NeoLast, a 100% recyclable, elastane-free high-performance fiber developed in Celanese. This IP is valuable, rare, and highly difficult to imitate. While any brand can make moisture-wicking shirts, UA's fabric innovations address future circularity laws ahead of its rivals, and this fabric is their secret escape hatch. Under Armour's strengths are their patent-backed fabric IP and a highly agile B2B customization infrastructure designed for institutional outfitting. Their weaknesses are severe: widening net losses of $496 billion, a highly restricted 191 million R&D budget, and a massive restructuring friction. However, their opportunities are also massive. Aside from the work-leisure trend, competitor sponsorship vacancies are opening up. As historical market leaders like Nike exit legacy contracts to cut their own costs, major sports organizations like the Hockey Canada are left orphaned. The threat, however, is brand dilution from aggressive middle marketing discounting and wholesale. When we quantify Under Armour's position through a competitive strength assessment, the brand scores 6.6 overall, placing them behind rivals. Under Armour lags significantly on DTC maturity and product versatility. However, look closer at the operational metrics. On supply chain agility and SKU rationalization, Under Armour scores a solid 7 because they are actively taking corrective action to prune their lines. On community-led marketing, their Under Armour Next and other brand initiatives give them a highly credible, localized grassroots advantage. They are small, yet agile. They don't need to win with a general power ranking. They just need to dominate the specific operational niches where their scale deficit does not matter. Looking at the space matrix, we confirm exactly their tactical reality. Their industry position is incredibly strong at positive 5.0, driven by steady global sportswear demand and high technical entry barriers. However, their environmental stability is a bit volatile due to tariff and supply chain pressures, and their financial strength is heavily dragged down by their current cash flow constraints and net losses. The resulting vector lands square in the competitive quadrant. The rule of the competitive quadrant is clear. Under Armour must not spread its thin financial reserves across broad, unfocused categories. Rather, they must defend their capital, exploit their specific product advantages, and narrow down their focus. Moving forward to our alternative courses, we map our potential pathways across 4 distinct operational strategies. First is product development. Under Armour can focus on engineering entirely new product categories or heavily expanding consumer lines, such as building out an expansive lifestyle and premium consumer work-leisure collection. But this requires redirecting their R&D, retooling factories, and launching a broad commercial marketing campaign to introduce new silhouettes to the general public. Second is market development. This direction involves UA's existing athletic apparel catalog and pushing it into brand new territories. This means expanding their physical footprint into untapped geographic regions globally, or building a brand new consumer-facing infrastructure to target entirely different consumer demographics. Third is the integration strategy. This is a purely operational backward integration play. And under this model, what happens is a complete overhaul of UA's supply chain. They focus now on nearshoring their manufacturing, consolidating their raw material procurement, and aggressively auditing supplier networks to ensure total compliance with tightening global trade and tariff regulations. And finally, we have market penetration. Under Armour has to use this strategy if they want to focus on existing product lines and known operational channels, but fundamentally change how they should allocate them. We intentionally cut UA's bottom 25% of low-margin wholesale doors to create immediate retail scarcity, while simultaneously rerouting their core fabric technology directly into high-volume, predictable B2B team sports and corporate contracts. Hence, we are left with a challenge. How can Under Armour leverage its proprietary innovations and B2B customization capability to restore pricing power and gross margin recovery while undergoing restructuring? Using the Ansoff Matrix, we have evaluated the 4 distinct strategic pathways using 5 weighted criteria. On product development, we have a score of 2.2. Redirection of R&D into lines like the Unstoppable Collection. This score is low on financial feasibility because developing new lines requires heavy cash, and it yields the slowest path to margin recovery. On market development, we have the score of 2.95, expanding into entirely new geographic regions, and this scores low on VRIO alignment because geographic push relies on sales networks rather than fabric innovations. Integration strategy has a score of 1.5, restructuring supplier networks and nearshoring. This is the slowest or lowest scoring option because adding integration complexity on top of an active 305 million restructuring is a recipe for execution failure. Lastly, under market penetration, we have a high score of 3.35. This strategy is our winner because it builds an insulated fortress around our existing VRIO fabric IP. It also requires no new capital layout and monetizes assets that UA has already paid for and addresses the North American decline through our high-volume team sports. Thus, the Fantastic Five has a final recommendation of immediately executing market penetration for Under Armour. This is driven by two key pillars. First pillar is on retail scarcity through first-party digital signals. Under Armour should continue to exit low-margin third-party retail accounts to limit market saturation. Using real-time data from its 17 million UA Rewards members, they can immediately manufacture a tightly controlled, high-velocity SKU lineup. If a style does not generate enough cash flow, full-price digital demand, then it is deleted before manufacturing begins. They will weave Neolast into clean, professional silhouettes, creating an exclusive full-price DTC loop. The second pillar is on B2B institutionalizing customization capture. While their customer footprint shrinks to protect margins, they will maximize their high-volume customization supply chain. As Nike and legacy brands vacate regional, collegiate, and minor league outfitting spaces to protect their own bottom lines, Under Armour can swoop in and absorb these vacancies, just as we've seen them open up with organizations like Hockey Canada. These legally binding, multi-year bulk agreements can generate upfront revenue with zero consumer marketing spend for the brand. We must also be transparent when it comes to the strategic trade-offs that come with this recommendation. The consequences are real. UA will probably face severe short-term top-line revenue contraction, with total revenue declining further before it finds its floor. We might also risk the attrition of cost-conscious customers who are habituated into discounts. We face increased vulnerability as well to digital customer acquisition costs, and we might manage execution drag during our active 305 million restructuring. This is a deliberate shift from quantity to quality. But however, our pros are also definitive. A rapid gross margin optimization happens by capturing 100% of DTC margin, complete eradication of brand equity dilution by stopping the wholesale liquidation cycle, and concentrated R&D density that puts our limited budget on R&D strictly into textile commercialization into winning materials like Neolast. Now, to bring this into life, our implementation plan rolls out a synchronized 24-month operational roadmap divided into 4 disciplined phases. Phase 1 runs from months 1 to 6 is line rationalization. Under Armour executes their 25% SKU and inventory reductions, prioritizing high-margin apparel over failing footwear lines while systematically pruning toxic wholesale accounts. Phase 2 runs from months 7 to 12 is the B2B intercept. They open their agile apparel customization engine to corporate and sports institutions, deploying dedicated sales teams to absorb the contracts abandoned by legacy rivals. Phase 3 runs from months 13 to 18 and launches our premium workleisure tiers. They will integrate their VRIO fabric innovations like Neolast and IsoChill into everyday, versatile silhouettes that keeps them strictly exclusive to their own digital DTC platforms to protect the margin. And finally, Phase 4 runs from months 19 to 24 and focuses on scale stabilization. They would solidify 100% of supply chain transparency, consolidating our pipeline into certified handful strategic nearshore partners to eliminate tariff and customs compliance risks. Finally, to ensure that this recommendation translates into direct survival and profit, we will hold ourselves accountable using the following balanced scorecards for the next years. From a financial perspective, the target is to optimize gross margins to 48% by late 2026 by ruthlessly eliminating low-margin distributors while maintaining a strict plus 5% budget variance on our $305 million restructuring plan. From a customer perspective, Under Armour should rebuild premium brand equity, aiming for a plus 15% in increase in average selling price and a 75% full price sell-through rate on their own DTC channels, while capturing 50 plus new annual Tier 2 B2B contracts. From an operations perspective, they should utilize first-party e-commerce data to drive 15% improvement in their inventory turnover ratio and migrate 35% of their sourcing out of high tariff zones, and as well as deploy agile custom pads and pods to drop B2B delivery lead times under 5 days. Finally, from a people and technology perspective, they should allocate their $191 million R&D budget strictly into Neolast and workleisure applications to ensure new fabric tech drives 30% of total apparel revenue, while certifying 95% of our distribution workforce into automated B2B operations. Scarcity is a leverage, and silence is profit. True corporate strategy is not defined by what you choose to do, it is defined by what you choose to stop doing. For the past decade, Under Armour has tried to fight a multi-front war by copying the playbooks of companies 3 times its size. Now, by cutting a lot of their noise, they are not waving a white flag. Rather, they are now pulling back the string on a bow. By turning away from wholesale retail bullies and focusing on raw, unassailable fabric technology, we transform Under Armour from a generic sportswear brand into a premium, circular textile powerhouse. We are exchanging low-margin volume for high-margin dominance, and we are disappearing from the noise of consumer retail to quietly own the dark. Once again, this is Fantastic 5. Thank you for listening.